Katukunda site, who is the Senior Program Officer, Communications, SAGE, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And I'm Olive Monica Najuma with Joram Paul Sonko. Site, you are welcome to Good Morning Uganda.
Thank you very much, Monica and Sonko, for hosting me. Good morning, Uganda. Very happy to be with you this morning.
We are glad to have you. Now, first of all, let's look at the theme of this year's celebrations that are taking place in Masaka City.
Thank you, Monica. Just a brief background. International Day of Older Person is a UN General Assembly designated day to celebrate older persons. And for the case of Uganda, we started celebrating this day in 1999. Now, this year's theme really is focused on promotion and protection of the rights of older persons, everyone's responsibility, because aging is not optional. The theme, Monica, really brings to reality the need to protect the rights of older persons. Just like any other citizen, older persons have a right to life, they have a right to security, health care, non-discrimination, participation, and they should be free from torture or any cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment.
That's right.
They also have a right to own property and to associate. But then over time, we've seen a number of cases happening really that point to the various abuses inflicted on older persons. And so the theme for this year's celebration really emphasizes the need for all of us globally really to promote and protect the elderly, because at one point they were young, and if anything, that's where we are all going.
Okay, that's very true. And there is a report, a site that shows that 86% of older persons in Uganda suffer neglect and isolation, but also that 47.7% of these individuals are victims of domestic violence, while 49% experience psychological abuse, including threats, humiliation, and various forms of mistreatment. Now, to an ordinary person, one would think that when someone is older, they're actually held in the highest regard. So what would be the major contributing factors to these abuses?
Monica and our dear listeners, when people age, they are really regarded as sometimes useless because of their inability to continue engaging actively in the day-to-day things that any human being should be doing. And then again, we see a lot of degeneration of manners in humans, maybe as a result of social media, digitization, the global trends really that keep changing over time. And so people are more self-centered. People have gone on to really focus on their well-being without giving our elderly, our grandparents, the attention that they deserve. So as a result, we see a number of abuses that are inflicted on our older persons. We've seen grandchildren beating up their older grandparents. We've seen domestic violence. We've had cases of older persons losing property to their own children, to their grandchildren, because they think they are not living any longer anyway, which is really not the reality. Older persons still continue to live longer. You know, Uganda has a reality of an increased life expectancy. We are at 64 years now, 64 or 65 years. So you see it has been increasing over time, meaning people are living much longer. And so we need to come back to the reality that everyone needs care and love and support.
Well, Site, let me just take you quickly into some developments coming in from Parliament. Last week, the State Minister for Older Persons, Dominic Mafabi, said they will come up with the law, or they are in consultations to come up with a bill that seeks to to ensure young people respect and take advice from older persons. Now, back to our topic of discussion today. Many of the older persons in this country feel that the reasons as to why they are falling out with, let's say, their own grandchildren is the lack of respect and, of course, you know, the lack of values within today's generation. With the ministry and the engagement you've been having with the older persons countrywide, what do you think, or what has been the main cause of this disrespect that the older persons are facing from the young generation?
Like I earlier mentioned, there's a whole disregard of the contributions that older persons play in our lives. And over time, as we transit to globalization, digitalization, and all that, a lot of influence from the outside world, we tend to focus more now on the changing trends of the globe. But then as a ministry, really, we have gone a long way to put in place a number of policies, a number of laws that should guide us on ways of addressing issues of older persons and other phases of life across the life cycle. And actually, today we will be launching the revised national policy for older persons. And you will ask me, it emphasizes the issues of empowering and ensuring that older persons continue to participate in development. It provides a framework to address issues related to older persons. And about the law that the minister was talking about earlier last week in Parliament, we want to go back to the drawing board, to go back and instill those values in our communities, in our children. And we are not saying we are going to do it as a ministry or as government alone, but it is everyone's responsibility. We want all of us to go back to the drawing board and realize that it is everyone's responsibility to take care of each one of us, both young and old.
Now, Site, I would like to draw your attention to today's current involvement and events where you'll find that the young people who could help in taking care of the older persons are also busy with maybe work or even school. And in developed countries, there is a framework for care homes for older persons. So in Uganda, do we have any framework of that nature coming up to enable elder persons to be taken care of in the event that the relatives or caregivers that are within the family are unable to?
Yes, we have a very vibrant legal and policy framework, by the way, Monica. We have a national social protection policy that was put in place in 2015, and recently we developed, as a Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, a national social protection strategy through the life cycle. It's looking at the life cycle approach. And what really we are emphasizing is putting in place mechanisms that will increase the scope and coverage of social care and support services, to increase the social security, and here I'm speaking in terms of increasing the income support, for example, that older persons receive. We are looking at things like establishing a child grant for children in Uganda. We are looking at putting a healthcare system in place. So really a whole range of social protection interventions that will ensure that people live longer, people live a dignified life. So all those policies are in place. And earlier I mentioned that we are launching the revised national policy for older persons, which was once developed in 2009, but then it has been revised this year to provide that framework that handles all issues related to older persons in a holistic and coordinated manner. And all these policies emphasize coordination, emphasize partnership. So we are not doing it alone. We want to partner with everyone, development partners, civil society organizations, to ensure that social protection across the life cycle is promoted and is actually financed and enhanced to ensure that people live a dignified life.
Well, let's get into the issue of SAGE. And of course, I'll stand to be corrected if I'm wrong on this. Earlier this year, I think as in April, we got information that the age limit had been lowered from 80 to 60 through a new fund. But that aside, one may wonder, when it comes to accessing SAGE money, how accessible has it been for the older persons over the years?
Thank you very much, Sonko. Now, the Special Enterprise Grant for Older Persons, which was recently put in place in 2021-22 financial year, was really brought in to bridge the gap and benefit older persons that are not yet 80 to benefit from the SAGE. And so the Special Enterprise Grant benefits older persons who are 60 to 79 years. They receive a maximum grant of 5 million to invest in a special enterprise, in a common enterprise they agree on. This money is accessed in groups of 5 to 10 people. Unlike SAGE, which targets 80 years and above. Now, SAGE eligibility age has not yet been reduced. I wish to clarify that, though we are advocating that the age is reduced, but in the meantime, as government still identifies more resources, because with reduction of age, we anticipate more numbers to come on board. But in the meantime, before SAGE eligibility age is lowered, government has put in place the Special Enterprise Grant, but SAGE eligibility age is not yet reduced. And accessibility of the SAGE program really is through the NERA. We get a list from NERA of all older persons that have reached 80 years, and we go on ground and look for them. We enroll them, open up bank accounts for them, and they start receiving the SAGE. So any older person that is not registered with NERA is not captured under the SAGE grant, because it is a criteria that was put in place to manage transparency and effectiveness. And actually, Sonko, I should confirm to you that today, among the things we shall have on ground here, we will have the NERA handling all registration of older persons that have never registered, so that they get an opportunity to benefit from all these government programs. Because even the SAGE, the SEGOP, the National Special Grant for persons with disabilities, all these programs use the national ID as a primary targeting mechanism.
Now, if you'd like to join the conversation or ask some questions to Site Akatukunda, you may reach us on our WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. Ask any questions regarding older persons and Site will be able to answer them. Today is the International Day for Older Persons. We are celebrating and also looking at some of the issues that aggrieve the older persons within our families and our communities. Now, Site, given that the biggest number, a good portion of cases registered against older persons, it indicates that cases of domestic violence are mainly by intimate partners and also close family members. So how are we mitigating the factors that lead to domestic violence and ensure protection of older persons?
Thank you, Monica. Actually, these statistics were compiled by UBOS. The UBOS report came up with these statistics that 84% of the abuses take place in our homes.
Yes.
And that really should be an alarming situation for all of us. It is us, the parents, the children, individuals in homes that have older persons as members of our family. Why don't we go back and realize that these older persons deserve the care and the support? We tend to get so busy with our work schedules, with many other, things that take our time and space, and then forget the relatives that we live with. I want to use this opportunity to appeal to all of us, our listeners, our viewers, that we need to care for the elderly. If you don't live with them under your household and they live far away from you, be responsible. Give them that phone call. Check on them. Treat them when they are sick. Send them some support in terms of money and in kind, so that they are happy and they are appreciated and they will live longer. And maybe, Monica, if you allow me,
yes, please.
I know you may need to know what we are planning here in Masaka.
Yes.
I want to say that among the things we are doing, we have a health camp for the elderly. We have partnered with Ministry of Health and we have partnered with Masaka Referral Hospital. They have provided a number of specialized doctors to look at the issues of older persons. They may not give all the treatment required, but they will test and screen them for TB, for leprosy, for hypertension, and any other diseases. And then they will refer to them for any relevant care and support. But we also have partners like Sight Savers who will be looking at the eye care issues of older persons. What are we trying to do? We are trying to use this opportunity to give back to our elderly, to show them that we care, to get to listen to their issues. And so it's not only for today. I want to appeal to everyone that we need to listen to our elders. We need to respect them. Government continues to emphasize the home-based care and support for everyone that needs the love and respect in our homes and communities.
Well, Site, we've been talking about protection and we've been talking about promoting of the rights of the older persons. And this brings me to asking you, during these consultations and during all these reach out programs the ministry has been having, or the ministry is having, to reach out to different older persons in the whole country, what are some of those critical issues that my viewer this morning should need to know about the challenges the older persons are facing and why it is very important for us to step up and help?
Thank you. I will take an example of the issue of land grabbing, which has really caused a lot of stress to the elderly. We tend to think that they may not need the land, to do a lot on it because of their age, but then they have the right to own property, and we need to respect that. And so, as a community, we need to be cognizant of all those abuses, not only land grabbing, but even that simple courtesy for the elderly, where we see an older person, anywhere in hospitals, we should be able to give them way, let them be served first. If it is in a public transport means, let them have a seat or show them that care. Let them sit first, and probably you who is still able-bodied, you could stand so that the older person can feel respected and loved. And there are so many ways really we can do this. But what I want to emphasize is that we need a mindset change towards these issues. We need to change our thinking. We need to change our attitude towards the elderly across the world, really. But then we start from our homes, from our communities, and then we can extend to those that we meet as strangers in other places.
Well, today is the International Day for Older Persons, and it is running under the theme Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Older Persons, Everyone's Responsibility. What this means is that you and I and the younger people that we have in our families have a responsibility to look out for the older persons in the family, but also it's important for us to look out for older persons in the community. Back in the day, there was parenting, communal parenting, where every person had a concern regarding a child. And I personally think that when it comes to older persons, we should also have the same attitude, because some of them cannot really take good care of themselves. They need help. Am I right, Site?
Yes, you are. Very right.
Okay.
And
yes.
Really, we need to, it shouldn't be only for today when we recognize the Day of the Older Persons, but we should work with government through these interventions in place, through these policies, and be able to communicate. Can we be a voice for the older persons in our homes, even those that we don't know? Can we speak to them and then change our attitude? Like you say, Monica, we need to change the way we see the elderly, because they have a right to life. They have a right to all these opportunities that life has to offer. Yes.
All right. Now, as we commemorate the day, but of course it's also ongoing. It's not just a one-day event, that when the event is done, we still have to look out for older persons, like you said. But now this is where I bring in the government. We have looked at the statistics. They're really not good, especially given that according to the census that we had this year, it showed that 5% of our population of 46 million people is people over the age of 60, which is about 2.3 million people that are quite old. So we are not looking at small numbers here. Now, when we call upon the youth and other people within the community to look out for the older persons within our environs, the government itself, yes, there is the SAGE program that helps to, give them some financial assistance. But what other policies is government? Actually, you did talk about the policies that are already present. My question is on implementation. Are they really being implemented, or they're just on paper? And also, do older persons know about their rights?
Thank you very much. In terms of implementation of these policies and frameworks that government has put in place, I think the issue of implementation really should be a coordinated mechanism. Government cannot do it alone. I like the way we implement the SAGE and SEGOP and these other programs. We work with the local government structure to reach out to the elderly and other groups like persons with disabilities and everyone else. Now, we need to strengthen the partnership here. We need to strengthen our coordination. And what does this entail? That we need to recommit. Yes, we've been effective in implementing this, but can we put in more effort? I think by this time we wouldn't really be having so many issues coming up, especially at community level. We need to ensure that the local governments have a very critical role to play because they are on ground. They live with these people. They are closer to our older persons and other vulnerable groups. So we expect that they should, flag all these issues at community level for them to be addressed by the higher authorities, either in government, but also they should be able to listen to the older persons specifically for this day and bring out their grievances that they may have. And why am I saying this? We need to partner in terms of creating awareness about all these rights. Community leaders go with older persons to, different forums, the churches, the hospitals, because they are closer to them. So we really have to emphasize awareness creation so that people are aware of what they deserve, so that older persons are aware of how to access these different programs, including the parish development model, which really have a percentage of their support, the EMIOGA, and all these other programs. So the issue of awareness creation is very important, and I want to say that we can't go it alone. We need each one of us, from the highest authority in government down to the grassroots. We need to partner, we need to work together to ensure a coordinated program implementation system.
Well, thank you, Site. And I understand the event is taking place at the Liberation Square in Masaka City. Have the events begun already?
We are setting the ground. The ground is set. We are going to start with a walk through Masaka town. Monica, the older persons are going to walk for a kilometer or so.
Okay.
We are going to have a health camp, like I earlier mentioned. We are going to have a lot to eat and drink, but also we have sage payments on ground today.
Okay.
There are a number of older persons in Masaka City, who haven't received their payment for Q1, July, August, September, and so we are using this opportunity to deliver the senior citizens grant to them. But also we have a number of gifts to give them. As I earlier said, this day is really to recognize their effort, to show them love, care, and support, and we will gift them with lots of goodies. So Monica and Sonko, if you're able to join us, I think after this show,
yes,
we will be glad to welcome you to Masaka City at the Liberation Square.
Well, thanks for the invitation, Site. Just send us a chopper and we'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking with us, and we wish you the best today, and much love to the older persons.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was Site Akatukunda, who is the Program Officer and also Communications Manager at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Today is the International Day for Older Persons. We are celebrating them and commemorating this day with so much events that are going to take place at the Liberation Square in Masaka City. Now, I'll end with a comment from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye, Luafu, and he says, good morning, Olive and Jerome. While we are celebrating this elderly day, I think it is important to look at some of the challenges these people face. Most people think once one turns old, then they should start thinking and planning for their death, which is a very wrong mentality. Some, after aging, most of these are ignored and given very little attention, yet some live longer than expected. So while we are celebrating this day, let's bear in our minds that everyone is a potential elderly, and it's inevitable to all humans who are blessed to stay longer here on earth. Then we can stand with these people in all aspects of life and share pain together. That is a very powerful message coming in from Cricket Derek Gagamel of Makinde Luafu. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Ministry of Tourism, Honorable Minister, decided to start with Korongo Equator because we have 7 points on land that we can develop and we are able to attract more tourists in the country. This Chikorongo Equator here in Queen Elizabeth, just across Lake George, we have another point there that we documented. Then we have another one in Chiruhura, then we have Kayabwe, we have Entebbe. And so all the 7 points, we plan to develop them in the near future. But why did we start with Chikorongo? Because one, we know that Chikorongo has numbers, the numbers that are going to Queen Elizabeth. And besides that, the point that was there, the monument that was there before that was put in the 1960s was run down by a truck. But then we decided to give the people of this side a better monument. And this monument is made of steel. And being of steel, we wanted something that we shall not do repairs every time. And so we decided to do something that we are sure that will last for generations. And so that's why we have this kind of design, which shows the map of Africa on, because it's the map of the world. So it shows how the equator is crossing the big, is that big line in the middle of the equator, of that the structure, the ring. And then on top in the small, something like a circle, still we put somewhere Uganda to be very identifiable. So this shows us that Uganda is blessed. Uganda has its resources, and we are going to try, as Ministry of Tourism, sites and monuments, we are going, because we have many sites, cultural heritage sites, both natural and cultural. So this is a natural site. When we go back to our Museums and Monuments Act, Honorable, we are saying, and you clearly demonstrated, that Uganda is going to start creating or diversifying tourism products by promoting and developing culture and natural sites. So this is one of the examples that we have done, but we have experiments that are done here. We are lucky we have Uganda Wildlife Research Institute that has trained for us guides, and so we have some guides here that are taking through the visitors to do the experiments. So I will request one guide to come in to do the experiment showing the north and the south, how the equator, people around the equator, what happens.
Thank you, Honorable Ministers and everyone. All protocol observed. From Uganda Tourism Boards, we actually took the lead in profiling the equator line across Uganda, and the Commissioner Museum was one of the core team members, and we identified 20 very important points along the equator in Uganda that needs to be developed. And this is just one of them that we started with the development. As already mentioned, it is also to spur investment, because we are looking at not just putting the equator monument along the equator. We want the equator to be a destination of its own, that somebody will come from Europe, from Australia, from America, wherever, just to come and have an experience at the equator. We are looking at working with the Uganda Golf Union. You know, you can tee from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. We want to do cycling along the equator in Uganda. We have part of it on Lake Victoria. And there are also different kinds of activities that will be developed. And as we mentioned yesterday, our marketing strategy starting this year is looking at the trend of the global travelers. They're not looking for products, they're looking for experiences. So it's not just about coming and, you know, looking at the monument. It's nice, take a picture and go. Yeah, but what else is around the monument that will make somebody have an experience? So we need a lot of investment, and this is opportunity for Ugandans, you know, to look at the investment opportunities that will come along the equator points. So we are very excited. For us, this is an addition onto the product profile offerings that we have that we are now ready to push to the market. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for coming. Today, really, we are here to open the Kikorongo Equator Monument. Kikorongo, you know, is historical. You remember the Queen, I think in 1953 or 54, he visited here. The Queen visited. He dined here. 1954. Yes. But that is the Queen's period, isn't it? We are now talking of 2024. Yes. Fortunately, we have now a new monument. I congratulate government. I congratulate the president, government, the ministry for giving us this piece, isn't it? Quite a beautiful structure, this monument. And today we came here to open it, to unveil this very, very important monument. Congratulations. I thank the statements made, the Member of Parliament, the Chairman of the District, the Board of Trustees, WUA, Honorable Kabyanga. I want to thank a man called Biamungu, the Chief Administrative Officer. That's is here. Because we have been coordinating with him at the ministry. Biamungu is here. And we thank you for the effort and your chairman. And I thank my sisters, Honorable Lois, Bambale, Christine Mohindo, and Mrs. Ojara? Yes. Mrs. Ojara, a member of the board of Uganda Tourism Board. Commissioner Liazi. Boss. Equator Monument unveiled now. Wow. Thank you.
So we can have one big group photo, please.
Let's join the photo.
Well, good to have your company, and thank you very much for sticking around to Good Morning Uganda. It's now time for business. Today is the first day of the month of October, meaning among us the key highlights from the world of business includes the updates coming in from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, which I also have gathered for you this morning. Why not? Let's dive into what I have for you from the world of business, starting off with Ugandan manufactured tiles. Now, the manufactured marketing of tiles is changing Uganda's economic landscape from being an entirely import-based country into one that is also aiming at exporting the tiles that are being manufactured into or that are being manufactured within the country. Now, the tiles, most of which are manufactured from Kapeka Industrial Park, have seen Ugandans opt for the quality ceramic products as opposed to importing them instead. Now, this is where many of the Ugandans are also pushing harder with the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy, because over the years, many have been importing these ceramic products and also been importing these tiles from different countries, say Europe and Asia, and obviously over the years making it even more expensive because of the extra charges that come in regards to importing. Now, the storage in Kapeka is meant to ensure that they are well kept before sale and distribution, which is one of the reasons as to why we are now having high quality tiles on the Ugandan market. Now, the showroom in Kapeka with Ugandan made tiles attracts the attention of many quality products and of course many of the dealers in ceramics. One of the things that has now become a phenomenon in Uganda since 1990. Now, the journey has seen many of the partners in the ceramic industry partner with different proprietors, including the Kapeka industry, and also the success that you're seeing today in the market is one that you can trace back over the years, as many have been focusing on ensuring that Uganda becomes a manufacturing hub for many products, including the ceramic products. Now, this also comes days after President Museveni graced the Namuke Kera trade show with emphasis on import substitution and export promotion, including encouraging the buying and building Uganda through Bubu, and also supporting Ugandan manufactured products. Now, that is the proprietor of Mirage Tiles on your screen as well. Well, away from that, we now talk matters agriculture, because the International Food Policy Research Institute is supporting two notable innovations that will improve efficiency and combat challenges in milk handling. Now, the milk analyzers and the Easy Agric digital platforms have been introduced to empower farmers to compete in a modernized and global market. The dairy sector has become a cornerstone of Uganda's agriculture economy, producing approximately 5.3 billion litres of milk annually. And the regional manager at the Dairy Development Authority, Dr. Ahimbisibwe Moses, highlights that milk analyzers play a key role in evaluating milk quality by measuring butterfat and protein levels. Previously, poor milk quality was often mixed with high-quality milk, making it difficult for the processors to reward producers. And traditionally, when you look at the milk quality, was gauged through basic methods such as alcohol testing or lactometers. But with the growing trends and the fact that the dairy producers and those in the dairy sector need to upbeat the competition on the international scene, they had to adopt to new innovative solutions. Now, the introduction of milk analyzers at the milk collection centers will be a revolution on how milk quality is assessed, as the Easy Agric digital platform will combat counterfeit inputs and empower farmers and processors to track quality from the point of collection through the supply chain. And the Easy Agric platform links farmers directly with certified manufacturers certified by authorities like the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, recognizing the many rural farmers who lack access to smartphones. And then this particular platform has also partnered with agro-input merchants who act as intermediaries for those. Now, the Easy Agric platform facilitates direct deliveries from manufacturers to farmers, ensuring that the inputs are handled properly, avoiding damage or tampering. The innovations, both the milk analyzers and the Easy Agric platform, point towards smart farming. Now, many innovations are coming in from the world of agriculture, and meaning everyone within the sector needs to also adopt quickly, because on the international market, there's a huge market for the dairy products of Uganda, but the element of quality is one of the things that many Ugandans continue to fail out. That is why with these innovative solutions, many of the players within the agricultural sector continue to enhance quality and also continue to make it easier for the farmers in the out of reach areas in the country to also benefit from the same. Now, away from that, we turn our focus on two matters: inflation and looking at the Uganda Bureau of Statistics report as of 30th September 2024. Now, according to new details, Uganda has registered a decrease in annual inflation for the 12th month to September of 2024, with a 3.0% rate compared to 3.5% in the year that ended August 2024. This was revealed during the reading of the consumer price indices and inflation as of September 2024 at the Uganda Bureau of Statistics headquarters in Kampala. Now, the decrease in annual inflation is largely attributed to annual core inflation that is recorded at 3.7% compared to 3.9% that was registered in the year ended August of this very year. The annual construction sector inflation is registered at 1.5% compared to the 1.8%, also citing a drop from the same in just a period of 1 month. However, there has also been an increase in the residential property inflation in the year ending Q1 for the financial year 2024-2025, which registered at 5.6% compared to 2.7% registered for the year ending Q4 for the 2023-2024. Now, these statistics help the public to budget and substitute the higher price items that fit within the family budget. well, of course, you'll get to realize that there's some prices that have been dropping over the past 1 month, meaning you as a family person and anyone who is budgeting for this new month, you can easily try to draw a better calendar for your own self and try to see how best you can live within your means, because it does seem like not so many prices are high as they were at the start of the month, especially the groceries and, of course, other family essentials. Now, lastly, from the international scene, we turn our focus on to China, because China's sputtering economy has its leaders worried, pulling out all the stops. They have unveiled stimulus measures now, offered rare cash handouts, also holding a surprise meeting to kickstart off growth and try to shake up an ailing property market with a raft of decisions. Now, they did all of this in just 1 week, which was the last week of the month of September. Now, what is less clear is how the slowdown has affected ordinary Chinese people, whose expectations and frustrations are heavily censored. But 2 new pieces of research offer some insight now. The first, a survey of Chinese attitude towards the economy, found that the people were growing pessimistic and delusioned about their prospects. The second is a record of protests, both physical and online, that noted a rise in incidents driven by economic grievances. Please do note, the Chinese economy is one of the strongest economies in the world, competing favorably with those in Europe and the United States. And of course, India is shooting up to enter into that picture as well, with huge projection, but that by 2075, the chances are high that India may even be above the US and China. But that said, when you look at these surveys that are far from complete, the picture getting from most of the reports and the surveys provides a rare glimpse into the current economic climate and shows how Chinese people feel about their future, because they are looking at the future and saying, how then do we see our economy grow and how does it remain sustainable? Now, beyond the crisis in real estate, there is steep public debt and rising unemployment that have hit savings and spendings for the people of China. The world's second largest economy may miss its own growth target, which is 5% this year, by the look of things. But this is also sobering for the Chinese Communist Party, as explosive growth turned China into a global power, and stable prosperity was the carrot offered by a repressive regime that will never loosen its grip on the stick. Now, the President Xi Jinping is worried about the economy, but, well, the people of China continue to have their fingers crossed on the same. Well, and we now turn our focus on the forex market, courtesy of the central bank. Close of business yesterday to see how the Ugandan shilling was faring on the exchange. By opening time, the US dollar was buying at 3,686.77 while selling at 3,696.77. Midday, 3,684.59 while selling with 3,694.59 shillings. Closing time, the US dollar was buying at 3,683.77 while selling with 3,693.77, and the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,930.71 while selling at 4,944.10. The euro was buying at 4,112.19 shillings while selling at 4,123.35 shillings. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.55 shillings while selling at 28.63 shillings. And the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.34 shillings while selling at 1.35 Ugandan shillings. The South African rand was buying at 216.12 shillings while selling at 216.71 shillings. Please do note that these exchange rates are updated 3 times daily from Monday to Friday, and you're most likely to find those currencies faring like that as of it was recorded on closing time yesterday. I'll be back tomorrow with the latest from the world of business, but as of now, Olive Monica Najuma is here with the traffic updates. Keep it Good Morning Uganda, as more is yet to come.
Now let's look at the traffic updates. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and today we will start right in the heart of Kasubi, where we have this intersection that brings you from Hoima Road, that is the environs of Nasana and Namungona, and also Chimera Road, which joins this very intersection and also brings you from Kawala. We have Masiro Road just outside the Kasubi Masiro. Now we're looking at this intersection. We see that the traffic situation in the area doesn't look bad at all. But if I'm to go back a bit and look at Kawala Road, there I see traffic jam along the stretch, especially when you're nearing the intersection to join and either go to Chimera Road, which takes you to the sides of Makere, or Masiro Road or Hoima Road, which brings you to Nakulabye. Now moving on, we still have smooth flow of traffic, but there is that corner right after the Masiro as you head into Nakulabye. Here I see huge traffic jam. It's actually intense because I see deep red zones over here. Now Nakulabye itself, in the middle of the town at the traffic lights, I see a little bit of traffic jam coming through from Balintuma Road, which is coming from Mengo side, and also bringing in traffic jam into the center in Nakulabye. Now those going Makere Hill Road side, let's look at what that looks like this morning, and I see that right after the market we have intense traffic jam along the Makere Hill Road in Nakulabye, and the stretch of traffic jam goes on until the traffic lights that take you to either Sir Apollo Kagwa Road or lead you into Wandegea. And following that same stretch, I see that even after the traffic lights, we are encountering intense traffic jam along the Makere Hill Road, for the most part, especially those going to the side of Wandegea. Now, for those going to the side of Nakulabye, there is smooth flow of traffic here, and I see that Chadondo Road 2 is also looking pretty clean this morning. But for Makere Hill Road, as far as those going to Wandegea, we have intense traffic jam in this section. It loosens up a bit, but still there is traffic when you are approaching the lights in the middle of Wandegea. Now following the stretch going the side of Bombo Road from Wandegea, here I see that we have smooth flow of traffic, but not for a long stretch, because now I see another section where traffic jam is starting to build, as evidenced by those orange zones that you see on your screen. And going forward still with Bombo Road, the intersection that has Nachivubo Road, Queens Lane, is bringing in traffic jam over there. So if that's the stretch you're going with, you should know that yes, you will encounter some traffic jam there, but not for a long stretch, and the rest of the road looks pretty okay. There is smooth flow of traffic over here, even as you approach Bombo Road, where you'll find just outside of Watoto Church, there is smooth flow of traffic here. So Kampala Road, when you transition from Bombo Road, also looks pretty okay. A bit of traffic jam starting around here, but not for a long stretch. City Square is very clear. The Square One is very clear. So for the most part, I see that there is smooth flow of traffic along Kampala Road. And that does it for our traffic updates for this morning. Like I said earlier in the show, this is the youngest you'll ever be, and you can reinvent the wheel of your life. Also, you could reinvent the wheel of how you handle your routes in the morning. Stick around. Good Morning Uganda is still ongoing.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now this lovely morning, the 1st of October, which also happens to be International Day for Elder Persons, that will be celebrated in Masaka for today for Uganda's sake, is still a day that we decide to look into 2026. Believe you me, time flies very fast, and for politicians, every day matters and counts so much. Now on set, I have Samuel Walter Rubega Mukaku, a man who has contested for that top job in Uganda, that is for presidency. He was a presidential candidate once in the history of our elections. Currently, he heads the DP bloc. What that is, well, is here to explain. A lovely morning, Walter Lubega Mukaku.
Same to you and to everybody who is watching, and my colleague and longtime friend and compatriot. I'm happy to be with him this morning in the studios.
And just next to me is Ambassador Henry Maiga, also a devotee, a member of the National Resistance Movement. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chirabo, for the opportunity that you have given us this morning. And of course, I'm happy to be with my brother here. We have a long history at Makerere University, where we did all sorts of things, including the founding of Baganda and Kovazambogo. Many people, especially those who were in diapers that time, don't remember, and they don't have that history that all these things happened under our watch.
I thank you for having given us your dining, your sitting room several times when we're in that formation stage.
So these people, okay, no wonder most of the times, I don't know how it happens, but most of the politicians in this country have a point where they were close to each other. Then later, the political parties and multi-party politics makes them, but when you squeeze them or get them somewhere, you find they have some connection and a very rich connection together in their lives at once a time. Maybe that is why it is sometimes easier for one to cross from another party to another after seeing there is a colleague there. Now, this morning, we want to look at 2026 and the things that have happened in the short run of things. And I want to begin with Samuel Walter Lubega Mukaku. About a week or two, you made headlines as the DP bloc when you said you had fronted Honorable Matthias Mpuga as your candidate for the DP bloc come 2026. Well knowing this is a new person, he's a leader within that, and then DP bloc. But for better understanding, help us, this word DP bloc. What is DP bloc?
Well, thank you very much for wanting to unpack the phrase DP bloc. I'll explain the bloc, but I'll also explain why DP bloc. Not long ago, and I'm always happy to deal with the recent history, because even those who are going to vote this time, probably by that time they were 14 years old or 13 years old. As a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, you can't forget what really happened 4 years ago. We were in Africa now. I came here, you gave me opportunity to speak about it. By then, we still had the late Dr. Paulo Kawanga Semogerere. Having gone through a very nasty experience within the party and also in building our inter-party relations and wanting to come up with one candidate. You remember the TDA? Where we were all committed after my standing for presidency, as you mentioned. It was also not very good experience. They said, no, this time around, let's go back to the principle of fronting one agreed candidate. We may have other candidates, but one agreed candidates. And remember, it all different candidates emerged. Then we had the two super Kigezi-born politicians. One was fresh from the NRM, another one was a little bit older, about 15 years from the NRM. And the two Bachigas sat. Dr. Tunu, you remember, was very, very instrumental.
Almost made me lose my job.
I stood with Dr. Tunu, and Dr. Tunu is magnanimous and open, and the statesman.
But I'll never forget Dr. Tunu.
And the statesman he is, he even...
A statesman who never turned to vote for himself.
Yeah, because he had a principle, he had a point to make. There are those who make fun about it,
but why
sometimes in life, people make, and that's why we have in politics and other expressions, we talk about demonstrations. It can be one-man demonstration, it can be whatever. We can't demonize, but those who demonize the matters, the Uganda matters at the time, today they are saying they had a point.
Okay, you can continue.
So what I'm saying, he was magnanimous enough. He had worked with international friends,
Yes.
and Kofi Annan was one of them. They went to the UK after it was all collapsing here. Kofi Annan brokered this. We failed to bring to agree on one candidate. They agreed, and coming back here, it was not what the people expected. So it was a nasty experience. And the DP, as usual, the Mukakus and the rest, having realized, we said, no, we are many in the opposition. But why don't we lead by example? While we have our problems, as you may have problems in the clan, it doesn't remove the fact that we must work for Uganda. So we said, okay, let's put our clan together. That's how we went to Africana. Those were TJs, those were UIDs, those were SDPs, those were PDPs, those were still in the skeleton of DP that was remaining. The old men who had felt they were put off by this. We brought all of them together in Africana and created the DP bloc with an agreement, which is we still have. And for today, if one individual erred or one individual decided to move his ways, we are still together as members who belong to the same fraternity of the truth and justice. Now, the bloc, the meaning of the bloc now in politics as we move towards an election, and it has not only happened in Uganda, go to Germany, Australia, elsewhere, you can block one, electoral interests, policy programs, your policy agenda, then the way you candidates such that there is no infighting, pre-elections, during, and after, and sometimes which results into what we call either governing coalitions or legislative agenda coalition and all this. So we say, look, instead of having so many parties like we had in the TDA, let's lead by example. Bring all these parties together. And we advise our UPC friends. We know there is UPC, there is Kosovo, there is UPC Kenya, there is UPC World. Why don't we think about creating one bloc, irrespective of our differences? Then FDC, there is Federal Alliance, there is ANT, there is FDC now. Now, when it comes to today, there are now more FDC Katonga. Block that one. Yes, you have problems. But when it comes to agreeing on a minimum agenda, you can. NRM itself led us, the first part of NRM. Didn't it? It had several units within it, including DPs and the like. We can take that as an example. Our neighbors, the Kenyans, Azimio la Umoja, Kenya Kwanza, what has happened? South Africa. So this is not something that we were trying to create that was not new. That is what we call, in our case, as the Truth and the Justice Fraternity. It's the DP bloc. We had agreed on several agendas. That's how we brought all these MPs, Dr. Bade in the other ones, and 48 of the MPs of now what we call NUP are DP bloc MPs.
Oh, Ambassador, politically, does that make sense?
Well, I don't know. Of course, for me, I came here to speak on behalf of the NRM. I don't know what's happening in the DP. Of course, I mean, there's just so much that probably is being splashed in the newspapers and also on the electronic.
But see, these are your political opponents.
Absolutely.
If they are so prepared, they
absolutely. And I just wanted to begin with the history in this country, because we had 24 years from 1962 to 1986, something like 24 years, where we had a referendum, 2 elections, and I think 2 constitutions. You remember?
Yes.
In that space of time. And then between 1986 to date, I think we've had 6 elections, 1 constitution, and 1 referendum. And for me, that speaks volumes about. And then, of course, in the last 24 years, that is from 62 to 1986, I don't know how many heads of state, if you count them. Obote 1, Obote 2, Idi Amin, Yusuf Rule, Godfrey Congo, Vina Isa, Bote, Paulo Mwanga, and quite a number of others. So that space of time, 24 years, yes. Did we make progress in as far as, of course, I am not mentioning even the coalition of 1962 between the UPC and the KY. I don't know, I mean, historians would have, I think, to interpret exactly what happened during and whether we made some gains or we didn't at all. Now, in the last, of course, my colleague is talking about the broad-based government that we had in 1986 that was led by President Yoweri Museveni, which brought all shades of political opinion. DP, the original UPM was there. Some UPCs were co-opted, and you had federalists, you had anarchists, so to speak, and quite a number of others. So coalitions, in my view, and then, of course, the coalition of Besigye in 2006, of course, there was another one in 1996, which was led by Paulo Kawanga Semogerere. And since that time, there have been coalitions. And that's part of our history. As to whether we have made political gains, and as far as those coalitions are concerned, it again remains a debatable matter. But you see, for me, because the pertinent question that we have this morning is, are the parties, the political players in the country ready for the 2026 elections? That, in my view, is a very, very important question. And I want to answer it this way, that we have to look at the parameters. And we have quite a number of players. You have the NRM, which is my party. You have the DP, UPC, NUP, and quite a number of others, probably who are coming up. Basically, the other day was trying to create the PFF. I don't know how far that one is gone. They were trying to steal other people's colors. And I must think, congratulate the DP, because DP has remained the way it has been. It is green and white. Absolutely. They don't steal other people's party. I mean, party colors. NUP has stolen UPC's color, red, the other day. Now, I'm happy that the EC is actually coming out recently to say that the stealing of party colors and the party insignias and all these kinds of things should actually stop. And therefore, that's why the PFF is not getting a registration certificate as a result of them trying to plagiarize other people's colors and insignias and logos and all these kinds of things. And even the names, because the names sound similar to the others. But in the scheme of things, the parties ready for the 2026 elections. So we have to look at the parameters. What are the parameters that would actually indicate to us exactly which parties, or all the parties, or none, that actually is ready for the 2026 elections? Absolutely. One, I think we have political stability. There is no war in Uganda at all. So that gives us a very, very important opportunity for us to organize as parties and make sure that probably everybody takes part in these elections. So that is granted. We have the political stability, we have the security, we have the peace, we have the tranquility in the country, and so everybody can take part in those elections as and when they want. Number two, we have to look at the capacity.
Is not there.
Well,
but the rest may be...
it's a matter of conjecture. It's a matter of conjecture. It depends on how somebody looks at it, whether there is peace or there isn't. But as far as I'm concerned, the tranquility does obtain in this country. The security is there. That's why we can come to these studios and talk freely. You can lambast the government and nobody definitely is going to scratch you, my good brother, after you have lambasted the NRM government. So that is number one, political stability.
Political stability.
So we are ready because the political stability is in the country. And therefore the elections are going to come. And it means, and it speaks of course, quite a number of things for us to have this political stability, because we have had predictable and regular elections after every 5 years. That is also granted. I mean, we have had elections in 2001, 2006.
That is still at national level.
At national.
Before we go to party.
Well, I'm coming to the parties because now we must gauge the parameters.
Okay.
We will come to party cohesion as to which parties are actually cohesive in as far as these political contestations in which we are involved, all of us. So political stability is there. Elections are regular and predictable every 5 years. Anyone can come and contest either for president, you can contest for...
I see in your party already there is
members of parliament.
Kawoya Chigongo.
Absolutely, so he's welcome.
A lawyer, a former judge who's saying he's an NRM cadre and is ready to take on Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the current chairperson of NRM.
I agree, because in democracy, I mean, belonging to a political party doesn't mean that somebody has been locked up in a prison. You can join, you can get out.
So you have a former judge prepared?
Yeah, you let him come. He can come. But I can assure you that President Yoweri Museveni is going to be on the ballot paper. That one I can assure you. If you want not to believe me, if anybody in this country doesn't want to believe me, fine, that is their shauri. But as far as I know, of course, the contestation is open because nobody is going to gag him. He's free to present his credentials before the delegates conference that will sit to endorse who actually is the presidential candidate for the NRM. So as far as I'm concerned, the NRM is more than 100% ready. Not only to contest those elections, but also to field a presidential candidate, to field contestants for members of parliament, to field local council election candidates, you know. So the NRM, as far as that capacity is concerned, is ready. The parties have resources to field candidates throughout the country. I can't answer for anybody, but the NRM does have, so it's ready. As I said at the beginning of this conversation, I'm not going to speak on behalf of other parties, but I speak on behalf of the NRM. So in the meantime, all these things are extremely important for us to gauge as to whether the parties, or my party, the NRM, is ready for the elections in 2026. Extremely important for us to look at those parameters.
Samuel Walter, NRM is prepared, NRM, they are ready, they'll field a candidate, and one of the assurance we've just gotten is that President Museveni will be, according to their representative here. Now, the opposition, if you may choose to speak for the DP bloc, recently I saw you cheering, saying here we have a candidate, but your candidate, when I was observing the entire function, your candidate was moved to challenge an opposition candidate. Lubega. Your candidate. You are more so like, he's here to challenge National Unity Platform. And I was like, but what is happening? Who? Honorable Matthias Impuga. You fronted and said this is our candidate for 2026. DP bloc.
Now, how does he...
But majority of the interviews I saw on that function were like, yes, now we've prepared, he's ready to take on, and even words, I just don't have the footage here, Lubega Mukako seemingly saying, yes, we are here to challenge so-and-so.
Yeah, doing self-reflection, turning the torchlight to look at what are we doing in order to face up to the opponent, to the real challenge, is not bad. We've just gone through an election 4 years ago. You know what happened. The trickery, the nasty things that we went through, the excuses that we gave. We can't go to another election without evaluating this, without fixing the problems, without sealing the gaps. We can't go to face the prepared NRM without, at least according to my brother, without necessarily looking at how our team is performing. I am Arsenal. I don't know whether you are Man U.
I support Arsenal. Passionately.
Yeah, I have my colleague here who is very much Man U. And now we have Man City. We spend most of the week is 7 days, at our training ground, looking at why is it that Jesus is not doing well? Why has he lost form? And on the penultimate day, match day, he always say, today, Jesus, you are not playing. Kai Havertz is going to play. Oh, but this one prepares well. No. We are going to play Man City. We need somebody who can occupy the spaces, run back, and who can hold the ball, who can head it over and above. You see, you look at this, when he drops back, he comes back quickly. Jesus, you are good, but you drop back so much, you don't come back quickly. It's exactly what we're doing, and it is not a crime. So, Robert Chagulanyi Sentam, my young brother, my mentee, my colleague, my friend, 4 years down the road, plus the other 4 years from 2016, he has had the leadership mantle, which we gave him. He has to account. When he told the people, on that penultimate day, I'm going to court, I'm withdrawing, now I leave it to the people's court, without a chairman. Up to today we are asking, have we filled that gap? Before we can even complain about those who rig elections, before we can even complain about those who cross the balls, we are saying, have we done our act? Have we cleaned up our house? And anybody who does not want to throw a torchlight on that, then is preparing to fail, because not preparing is preparing to fail. So that's exactly what we're doing. That's why we're talking about, this time around, the themes. We want a people power that is not an individual power movement. We want a people power that is not a one party. UNLF, these are all examples. When we wanted to defeat Idi Amin, everybody coalesced. UPC, DP, the other smaller parties, Ugalimo, the fighting groups, different ones. The Jews, the British, Nimeri, our man from Tanzania. Everyone made their contribution. You arrange the command. He said, let the Mwangas and the Uto Jokos lead, because they are Ugandans. You see, there is also strategy. So it's exactly what we are doing. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, now, then rebel leader, had to go through all this. And the one who organized better, the one with superior organization, a superior agenda, a superior strategy, prevails. We cannot achieve what we want to achieve. That is power. We need power for and on behalf of the people when we are not ready to do self-search, self-analysis, self-evaluation. That's exactly what we're doing. And we're saying among the, because we're talking, you remember when we went to Africa, and you brought me here. What is the theme? Quality leadership. What is in quality leadership? The credentials, the standards. Yeah? The vision that you have. Yeah? Do you listen to other people? Because in the opposition, we are too pulverized. We are too divided. Do we need a divisive figure, or we need somebody who can unite? All these are questions. It's not just going to be, I'm there, I'm going to stand for this. No, we shall have to evaluate you. Then there is also another challenge. The challenge, when you do away with the president, and he's about to go, what do you bring? So we have got to turn this cheek, the other cheek, the hind, the forward, to know exactly that what we are bringing is better than Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Rotwa, Amin, and Obote. It will be great abuse to this country, and even to our colleagues, of having to tell them, look, you've performed enough, you've done your job, but I think it is not good enough. And then what we bring is even worse.
Well, we are still looking at how political parties are prepared for 2026. Samuel Walter, Lubega Mukaku, DP Bloc, and Ambassador Henry Maega, NRM, that is the party in power. How are these political parties prepared? Well, you've heard from Lubega Mukaku, self-examination to see if we are fit for the journey. National resistance movement. You've maintained one candidate all through. Yes, much as I've talked about Kawoya Chigongo Samuel, a former judge and a lawyer, warming up, it is crystal clear that a camel may not pass through the eye of a needle. This time, it's still going to be Yoweri Kaguta. Do you do self-examination within the party? He talked about a one-man syndrome politics.
You see, that's a very good point that you're raising, because I heard the two of you speak about football teams in the UK, I presume, Arsenal, Man U, and the rest of the pack. And I said, look, when a team is actually scoring and continues to score, you don't change those who are shooting. the ball in the right direction. You don't, and that's what the NRM has been doing for the last 38 years, because he has been scoring. When you look at where we've been, where we are coming from, of course, some people will not agree how this president has transformed this country, at least in as far as security, as I said before, peace and tranquility are concerned in this country. There's absolutely every reason as to why the NRM cannot change this candidate as of now. Of course, when time comes, yes, definitely. I mean, if the people decide in the NRM that yes, the time has come for the leadership to be changed, so be it. So it will be. And nobody definitely is going to block that kind of measure from being taken. And I believe that it will come at the choosing of the NRM itself, the membership. It will not come from outside, because the membership of the NRM has to decide on that, and it will be through a delegates conference. So this person has been scoring for a very long time, and therefore the estimation of the membership of the NRM is that he should continue to be the flag bearer of, and you have seen, of course, the tendencies. And I want to probably at this particular point in time bring out the aspect of party cohesion, because it's extremely important. He belongs to a political party. I'm sure you belong to one. Although, although that too is that too is your right. That too is your right. It's the Baganda would call it a dembere, where you get to choose what you want. That I will not belong to any. And I've written an article today in the New Vision, talks about quite a number of those things, that there are those who choose to be apolitical anyway. It's extremely important for us to look at party cohesion, because the moment you don't have party cohesion, you are going to have problems. Of course, recently we've had the MK, as you remember, tendency within the NRM, but as we speak, the MK movement has actually mainstreamed with the NRM, and so there's no problem. But that doesn't stop those who want to contest against, as far as the internal elections of the NRM is concerned. And of course, you have mentioned one who I've just heard about this morning. It was my first time to hear about that individual. He is free and nobody's going to gag him. He should present his credentials before the delegates conference of the NRM, which I believe will be in one of these places, maybe Dumble and so on and so forth, like it has happened in the past. And then people will evaluate as to whether that individual is better than this scorer, the person who has been scoring for all these decades. That is his right. He can contest for that position, so that probably if he goes through, if he doesn't, then he has to line behind President Yoweri Museveni, because that's one of the things which have been lacking in this country, because many times when you get defeated in a contest like that, you say they have rigged, which is okay. People to assume that things have been rigged. But for purposes of party unity, it's extremely important that even when you go for a contest and you lose, then you should line up behind the rest of the candidates, or I mean that candidate who has gone through. So I believe that when that delegates conference of the NRM comes, there is going to be even much more party cohesion, and therefore the NRM will go to the elections in 2026 ready to contest against their formations, against Kizza Besige's, I don't know what to call it, PFF. I don't know what it's going to be called, because the Electoral Commission has already said that it can't be called such. And quite a number of others who are going to field candidates for president. But I can assure you that the president, I mean the NRM is going to have a presidential candidate. It's going to have to field MPs throughout the country without leaving any constituency. As to whether the rest of the parties have actually that capacity to do that, I don't know. The NRM will also field candidates for all the local council positions in terms of elections in 2026. So we are ready as NRM for
usually NRM, one of the issues that comes out very categorically clear is when you go for that internal election to select party flag bearers. That is where hell breaks loose.
It doesn't break.
And for most of the times, if you remember what happened in Sembabule, if you remember the Shats and Sodo, the list is endless. Usually that happens very close to elections, but it leaves a lot of scars on the party. That is where you see some standing as independents. That's where you see some even feeling like crossing to other parties. How this time are you prepared to guard against the injustice that happens during this period of selecting flag bearers?
I can say straight away that just like I said at the beginning of this conversation of ours, that a political party is not a prison. It isn't. The day when Ugandans make a mistake of thinking that once you belong to a political party, you're locked up in there, is the day probably when we will...
And you're encouraging political prostitution.
No. Well, you can call it political prostitution.
Where someone looks, he's failed here, but believes the other party. And this is what we had.
Well,
many left US, DP bloc, entered NUP because they believed and thought victory was there.
Because that's part of the freedoms. And you can go even to the US. There are Democrats who are going to vote for Donald Trump. There are also Republicans, including, I think, his former vice president, who are saying, no, I think I'm going to vote for a Democrat. Those things are normal. I don't know why we are calling it political prostitution, but these are things which happen everywhere throughout the world. For as long as you have a democracy, you're not going to gag anybody. You're not going to make a political party a prison. And therefore, people are free either to stay in those political parties or to actually get out of them and then join other political formations. There is absolutely, I mean, everybody in this country has done it. There is nobody who hasn't done that. I don't want to name names, but of course the most prominent political parties in this country in 1962 were only two, the DP and the UPC. And then what happened? Then, of course, you can mention also the KY, probably. And then later on, people were crisscrossing the political canvas in the country. It is something that we cannot stop anybody from enjoying. You cannot gag people, you cannot keep people in a political party as a prison. But of course there are principles that, look, if you disagree with the rest of the mainstream of that political party, yes, you're free to get out. But it's extremely important that you actually belong to a political party which you believe in. And I want to congratulate my brother here, although at some point he also went to another one. But he's gone back to DP. He has gone back to DP, and because that's where he feels his heart is. And that is his freedom, and nobody should violate it. Whether it is in the DP, whether it is in the UPC, whether it is in NRM, whether it is in where, FDC and so on and so forth, as long as somebody has a large enough space within which to exercise their political rights, I don't see a problem somebody belonging to where they feel they should. But I want to believe that the NRM, of course, is equal to the job, and it will keep most of its membership together so that we can get into the elections of 2026 when the party cohesion is actually in existence.
Walter Lubega Mukaku, coming back to the opposition, one thing is you've always talked about coming together and fronting one candidate. As far as I've lived, that has not seen the light of day. We were at the TD offices throughout the night waiting until morning. Journalists, I remember, we slept there for a single candidate to be announced. Finally, after 24 hours, people came out and said they had failed to front one candidate. Here you are, DP bloc, assuming that you're going to front a single candidate as a bloc. But remember, we have other opposition parties. How prepared is the opposition? Do you see 2026 that you're on the right track to bring home victory?
I love the banter and the discussion about how prepared are the political parties. But now you're asking a question which is taking us to another level. How are we going to how are we going to play politics under the prevailing circumstances? I want first of all to make this disclaimer. Politics under the prevailing circumstances cannot be played as normal. Normal party, delegates conferences, then you have this or that. It has got to go beyond that. Because the circumstances are not normal. Why? We have a pervasive, deepening, deepening and probably expansive capture. State, institutional, our voices, our powers, people, and our dignity. That has bred misrule in many corridors of this country. That has bred dictatorship and cultism, mafia cultism. Whether, talk about it, whether in the NRM,
or in the
opposition, other institutions, including faith-based institutions. Politics cannot be played as normal, where you have a mass cult building, like we have, where people say, they never make mistake, they're like demigods, all the things that we hear. giving themselves names, Mutawaburwa in Uganda, Mutawaburwa elsewhere. That can work. And he's talking about democracy, and he's right. So what we're going to do is sometimes we shall have to do a mix. While we appreciate we have our institutions, we must also which can democratically try to clean up their houses, but we must also appreciate that there are things that we cannot change given the prevailing circumstances. And here is what now calls to be innovative. Innovative in our strategic approach. Without necessarily shedding, and we all want to stop the shedding of blood simply because of an election, the dividing of the country. And we were looking for that single candidate as opposition. We are not one party as opposition. Now, some of us go back to the drawing board because these boxes work. Every other time we have come up with some innovation, these big boxes work, and we trust them. While we brought the one, you remember the one-to-one model we had brought last time? Now everyone else in the opposition saying, oh, maybe if we had used it. We are going to hammer this one more, the one-to-one model, the blocking of parties. But this time round, and I'm going to sell this to some of my opposition, while we have tried to work to get a single candidate, maybe that is not the only route how we can get a unified product, a unifying product. Yeah, we may leave people to have several candidates, but again get a product that we want. I'm not going to tell you how. But I've told you these boxes work. So we must learn from our past experience and not get bogged down. We are still looking for that single candidate. What if we don't get them? But there is the ultimate goal that we want to achieve. So we are now working as DP Block, and soon or later I will come and invite you to come and cover this. It will be a great innovation, and I'm sure it will take us somewhere.
Now, but you're saying you're coming from different fronts. You seem to already have a candidate in mind. I remember at that press conference you declared a candidate.
We said Mpuga is one of the most prepared. I have ever stood as a presidential candidate. I'm here.
Yes.
I've not, and I told people, even if I'm not a presidential candidate, I can work well as the revolutionary leader. It has worked in other countries. You see, we have to look at different models, comparative studies. Well, for example, in that speech, if you heard what I said, well, I don't like what happens in some countries, but you can buy certain things from those models. For example, the Iran model. Here, they led a revolution. Theirs was, but they led a revolution. The leaders are, and then the revolutionary leaders are also there. I'm not saying that is the best model, but you learn something. For example, there are certain things we have to learn from. While we want Mr. Museveni out, but there are certain things that he has done smart. And we need to learn from them if we want to achieve the ultimate goal. So, studying from what has happened, for example, we have had our neighbors, Kenya, the Azimio la Umoja, the Kenya Kwanza, the NAC. These are all examples that we can learn from. Can you have an arrangement? And that's where we get the block thing. That's where we get you have an arrangement which is Azimio la Umoja-ish. And you have different ODM, this, that, and you go and contest an election. While the constitution may not give you a lot of space, the Ugandan constitution, but there is still some space somewhere if you're innovative enough. Kenya Kwanza, then South Africa.
For you to
today, probably ANC would be out of power. I mean, well, let our heads work.
Yeah, Mukaku, very interesting. The heads are going to be rolling and working. NRM is saying they're very, very prepared. Well, time seems to be flying. Not so much have I.
But also the most important thing is I want to protect my brother. I want to protect President Museveni. As they move, they get out of power, can they also enjoy the next government? Can they also enjoy the next status quo? Like Moi enjoyed in Kenya, like Nyerere enjoyed in Tanzania. I give these two examples, not the Mandela ones, because the Mandela is a different, he did well, he steps aside. But there were guarantees that were given to Moi. And I want to give them, because I have an obligation and duty to protect them, not to cut their throats. Like some people think that even in the opposition, when you have to, you must take Mukaku's head off. That is stupid. That is backwardness. That is not something we must allow in this country.
Mukaku, the way you're hopeful for 2026, as victory coming to your side, and then your preparation strategy is still in the making, is really very tactful here.
It may not come 2026, but it will come.
Oh, Ambassador, it may not come 2026, but it will come. At least a journey has begun from them. Now, coming back to the NRM, yes, party cohesion, we've said, is very, very important. But also, within NRM, recently I was hosting people who are talking about the vote protection unit, something like that. His Excellency came out and said he was rigged of about 1 million votes. And this is an election under his governance, though Electoral Commission is an independent body, and moreover rigged by the opposition National Unity Platform. So this time around, how are we avoiding such incidences, if at all they did happen?
Absolutely. Of course, the first point that I would want to make is that President Yoweri Museveni is the biggest consumer of intelligence information in the country. There is not any other person who consumes as much intelligence information as he himself. And therefore, he is privileged to access all sorts of information about anything, including elections, and how they were conducted, and of course, the rest is history. He made a statement, and I want to believe that he based that statement on the information that he had got from informers and all those kinds of things, and therefore probably that's something that should give us an opportunity as a country, that we should plug those holes so that nobody at the end of the day says that elections have been rigged, whether it is NRM saying that elections have been rigged, whether it is DP and so on and so forth. So we need to plug those holes and make sure that the election or the electoral process is as clean as it should be, because once the election process and even the campaign process itself is as clean as it should be, or they should be, then there's not going to be anybody complaining about how the entire process was conducted. Extremely important. So given the fact that he said those things, I think he must have definitely got information that those kinds of things were happening. And I am sure that is the reason why his statement has given birth to the protection unit. But of course, there are so many other, security agencies that will be on the ground and ensure that the electoral process and the campaigns go on as expected, peaceful, so that everybody can present their manifestos. He says that he may replace us in 2026, and then he will protect us. But I also want to assure him that we are protecting him at the moment, because he will get out of this studio even after talking his political things, and nobody's going to scratch him even by a particle. So
these things of taking me to the safe
protecting
are no longer going to
in
be...
any case. In any case, wait, once you break the law, once somebody breaks the law, and my brother here
because I've never been convicted, but I've gone to so many safe houses, so many cells.
My brother here has enjoyed his freedoms as much as he could, and it's because, of course, that protection has been extended to him by the current government. And so in future, if God willing, his group takes over the responsibility of running this country. It will be his obligation. It will be his obligation to protect him, just like we are protecting him, so that he doesn't have any political injuries. Any political injuries on his skin. So it's extremely important, and that is a bona fide argument that whoever is in government must protect not only his supporters or their supporters, but also those who oppose him. It is a very, very big responsibility.
Well, time seems to be flying, and I have to give room for Ruben Pima Kasera Chibirango to come in with sports updates, but I just want to give each one of you a minute as we come to the end of this particular segment of Good Morning Uganda. I'll begin with Walter Lubega. I have 10 minutes for Ruben to do his sports updates. Okay. Lubega, your parting shot, 2026 opposition, the DP bloc.
My parting shot is that in this struggle that we are in this effort, in this now looming national campaign, it's important to think about a vehicle, recreating and reconstructing a vehicle, people power vehicle, that has every room for everyone in this country to make a contribution. Right from NRM to the rest of us and to those who don't have parties. Different generations, different background, different statuses. Secondly, is to ensure, whether you are in the NRM, even my colleagues, make sure that this time around we turn around the country by bringing and coalescing quality leadership. Because it's quality leadership that will help this country come out of its doldrums and its major crisis that it's going through. And also focusing on the unresolved issues. To start with, electoral, constitutional, and political reforms.
Well, thank you so much, Samuel Walter Lubega Mokaku from the DP bloc. Ambassador Maiga, as we move out.
They say that Rome was not built in a day. The Americans have had democracy for the last 228 years. And they're still grappling with a few things here and there, especially campaign finance and the rest of the things. And of course, you remember the other day, even there were Twitter attempts on Donald Trump in what you would call a civilized country. But of course, those kinds of things are not the ones that we would wish for our country. So they've had democracy for the last 228 years. Uganda had a referendum in 2005, and so we have made 19 years on the democratic path. And that trajectory, in my view, is very encouraging. So let's keep the peace, security, and stability so that we can enjoy our country. We move towards elections and have them, and then have, we said, quality leadership.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. 2026 is not very far from us. One thing that is important is tolerance. Let's be very tolerant through the process as we hit that day and thereafter. Let's be very tolerant. Let's observe the law and let's avoid selective justice. For all human rights to be observed, and I guarantee you the best will come our way. We need to be a beacon of democracy on the African continent. See you in the next hour, God willing. Ruben is ready to give us sports updates. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by You can now get all the Chibuzi out with